Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is 50 Years in Film, 2001. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, and most important of all, please leave comments below. Let me know how you feel about these movies in this series, what your favorite movies are from these years, and if there's any suggestions that I might pick up from these years. Now, before we begin, I want to start with the normal caveat. These are not all of the films from 2001. Very far from it. These are simply the films that I own in my collection. And I am including Blu-rays and DVDs on this video. Now, I only have 15 titles right now. I was waiting on 2 more. They have not come in yet. I will show them off on the next installment when they arrive on Monday, but I will mention them now. The first is Sexy Beast, and the other movie is The Score. So again, we'll get into those movies on the next installment, but we're going to start 2001. We're going to jump around in genres like we normally do, and we're going to start off with animation. And the first one on our list is Monsters, Inc., starring the voices of John Goodman and Billy Crystal, among others. Directed by Pete Ducker? I have no idea. I don't know, to be honest. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Monsters, Inc. is a great movie. It is so much fun. It is heartwarming. It's a great movie, like most Pixar movies, especially from this time in Pixar's history. So the first movie on the list, Monsters, Inc. But to me, the best animated film that year was Shrek, featuring the voices of Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, Eddie Murphy, and John Lithgow, among others. Directed by Andrew Adamson and Vicki Jensen. Shrek came out of nowhere. Originally, the voice of Shrek was supposed to be Chris Farley. Unfortunately, he passed away, and they decided to replace him with Mike Myers. And Mike Myers, basically the voice of Shrek is the same voice of Fat Bastard or the father in So I Married an Axe Murderer. It's his Scottish accent. It doesn't matter. Shrek is an awesome, awesome film. I actually saw this theatrically by myself 3 times. And I was, 33 years old at the time? I'm sure I got some strange looks from people wondering if I was some sort of creep, but it doesn't matter. Shrek is a fantastic, hilarious, heartwarming film. Now we're going to switch to comedy. We're going from sweet and heartwarming to raunchy and disgusting with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Written and directed by Kevin Smith. Starring Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, and a host of others. This is truly a meta comedy. If you have not seen the previous Kevin Smith movies, this movie will not make a lick of sense and you'll just find it irritating. However, if you have seen the previous movies in Kevin Smith's View Askew universe, as he calls it, or View Askew universe, this movie's hilarious. Again, not a big hit at the time. Most people didn't understand it. And the reason why he did this in the first place was because a couple of years earlier in '99, he did a movie called Dogma, which is my favorite Kevin Smith movie, but it was extremely controversial. And he wanted to do something just silly. And he also wanted to go on to the next chapter of his Hollywood career and get rid of his stoner humor and the whole Jay and Silent Bob type thing. So after this movie, he tried another movie in a couple of years called Jersey Girl. We'll get to that one in a couple of years, and we'll get back to Kevin Smith's View Askew universe in a couple of years. But Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, to me, it's a hilarious, hilarious movie. Hashtag boo boo kitty fuck. Now we're going to switch over to some fantasy films, and we're going to start off with, from the Harry Potter complete 8-film collection, the first installment, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, directed by Chris Columbus, starring Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and a host of others, including Richard Harris and Alan Rickman. Here's where I'm going to lose a lot of viewers and a lot of subscribers. I have seen this movie back in 2002 when it first came out on videotape. I was living with a woman who had 2 small children. I was watching them and we popped this movie in. They absolutely loved it. I fell asleep. I have not seen any of the other Harry Potter movies. The reason why this collection is in our collection is because my wife is a big fan of these movies. I certainly am not saying anything against the Harry Potter films. I'm sure one thing I do remember of this movie was the quality. In every one of these movies, I've seen bits and pieces of them, and the quality is there. They all are all extremely well made, and they are all extremely popular, and I get it. I just wasn't in the target audience when this movie came out, and I never read the books. So again, I'm not slamming Harry Potter in any way, shape, or form. It's just a huge blind spot in my filmography. I have not seen these films, pure and simple. But also came out at the same time the first installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Written and directed by Peter Jackson, based on the novels, Lord of the Rings novels by J.R.R. Tolkien, starring Elijah Woods, Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, Liv Tyler, and a host of others. This movie, on the other hand, was up my alley because I read these novels when I was a child over and over and over, and I never in a million years thought I would actually see a real version of these films, of these novels brought to life. Ralph Bakshi tried earlier in the 70s with an animated version, which I do like, but it's definitely the Cliff Notes version. These movies are wonderful, and I do have the extended versions. I know most people's complaints with these movies is that they're too long. I don't care. I absolutely love every moment of every one of these 3 films, especially the extended versions. Now we're going to switch over to drama. And we're going to start off with Training Day, starring Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke, and Scott Glenn, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Denzel won a Best Actor Oscar for this film, and he deservedly so. He is ferocious in this movie. Training Day is a great movie. It's a great movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. Most people have. Can't sing the praises of this film enough. And then we're moving to Spy Game, directed by the late, great Tony Scott, starring Robert Redford, Brad Pitt. This movie's awesome. I just got this recently. I really, really enjoy Spy Game. Again, if you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough. I don't want to go into the plot if you haven't seen it because, again, one of the great things about this movie is the surprises that come along. Redford's great, Brad Pitt's great, everybody's great in this movie. Check out Spy Game. It's a really good movie. And we've got a couple of war movies for you. First, he's like, oh God, here we go again. He's back to Apocalypse Now. You already covered the documentary and the original film. What the hell? Well, in 2001, we got Apocalypse Now Redo, or Redux, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Basically, this is the director's cut of Apocalypse Now. They added about 40 minutes worth of footage to it. As you can see, let's see here. Yeah, almost 45 minutes of extra footage. And most of that footage takes place at a plantation with a bunch of French people. And quite honestly, it's boring as hell. I appreciate Redo, but to me, the quintessential version of Apocalypse Now is the theatrical cut. So, but I did want to mention it in this video. But this war movie is incredible and unrelenting in every way. Blackhawk Down, directed by Ridley Scott, starring an all-star cast. I mean, my God, everybody and their brother is in this movie, but especially Ewan McGregor, Tom Sizemore, Eric Banya, and Josh Hartnett. This is based on a true event, of course, of what happened in Mogadishu. This movie is a tough watch. It is extremely violent, extremely intense, and extremely well done. Blackhawk Down is one of my favorite war movies ever. I'll never forget seeing this theatrically. I thought my heart was going to come out of my chest a couple of times. This movie's so intense. This is a great, great film. Now we're going to switch over slowly into the horror. We're going to start off with Joyride, starring the late Paul Walker, Steven Zahn, and Lily Sobieski, directed by John Dahl. This is kind of like a 2000s version of Duel, the Steven Spielberg classic. This would make a good double feature with Duel, actually. Maybe I'll throw that on my next double feature edition if I do another one. But anyways, Joyride's a fun movie. It's not scary. It's more of a suspense thriller. But it's a lot of fun. All three give great performances. And the performer I didn't mention, the voice of the trucker coming through, is Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. And his voice is chilling in this movie. Candy cane. It's so good. I really, really like this movie. And then we're going to go into a slow burn, very effective thriller, Session 9. Directed by Brad Anderson, starring David Caruso, Josh Lucas, and Brendan Sexton III. I covered this one on one of my underrated films to check out series, and I stand by it. This is a really, really good movie. It's a slow burn. The first time I saw it, I didn't like it. I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring. I didn't get into it. It took me a couple of viewings to really warm up to it. And now, yeah, this is a great movie. It's just, again, it's not gory. It's all about atmosphere and performances. And this movie delivers. It's really good. Please check out Session 9 if you've never seen it. Then we've got From Hell, starring Johnny Depp, Heather Graham, and Ian Holm, directed by the Hughes brothers. This is a Jack the Ripper story. Johnny Depp is on the trail of Jack the Ripper, and Heather Graham is a prostitute who is the target of Jack the Ripper. And this is a really good movie. It's atmospheric. It's a slow burn. It's all about atmosphere. It's all about performances. And again, this movie delivers. Heather Graham's English accent's a little off, but it doesn't matter. I love Heather Graham. I always have. I really like this movie. So again, if you've never seen From Hell, check it out. Then we've got, for my Jeepers Creepers double feature, Jeepers Creepers, the original, starring Justin Long and directed by Victor Sawa. Victor Sawa is a piece of shit. I'm going to say that right now, up front. I have no use for the man. I think he should burn in hell if there is such a place. But that being said, I still really enjoy Jeepers Creepers, especially the first one. The second one's good. It's fun. But the first one is kind of freaky, and it came out of nowhere when this movie came out. And it was a surprise little small hit. But again, I really like the movie. Can't stand the filmmaker. So that's Jeepers Creepers. And then we've got probably the strangest movie out of the lot. Itchy, the Killer. Directed by the incredible Takasha Miike, who also directed Audition. And I used to have Audition, but for some reason I can't find it now. And we know about my phobia of trying to pronounce Asian names. No offense Please, I don't mean that in any way or shape or form. My brain just doesn't work that way. But this is a bizarre movie, man. This is a really bizarre movie. Extremely bloody, extremely intense. I can't even really explain the plot of it. Again, it's one of those movies you have to see and make up your own mind on. But very effective, very strange Asian thriller. Ichi the Killer. But this one I save for last. This is not a horror movie. Memento. Starring Guy Pearce, Carrie Ann Moss, and Joe Pantoliano. Directed by Christopher Nolan. This was my introduction to Christopher Nolan. I, for years, thought this was his debut. It wasn't until I started this channel that one of my viewers pointed out to me that he did have a movie called Following that came out before this, which I had never heard of and I still have never seen. Eventually I will. But the reason why I saved this one for last, because by and large, this was the public's introduction to Christopher Nolan. And this movie, the first time I saw it, it confused me, it enraged me, and I was just hooked. I loved it. And I've seen it multiple times since and still love it. The setup is so good. But the way that the movie is constructed is even better, how it's told backwards. Again, the first time I saw it, that device was driving me insane. But by the end of the movie, I loved it, and I can't imagine this movie taking place any other way. Again, this was by and large, the introduction to Christopher Nolan and his brother, of course, who wrote the script with him. Christopher Nolan, of course, has gone on to become one of the, if not the most successful, influential director of the last 25 years. He recently just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. Well overdue, because Oppenheimer's a great movie. It's not even his best movie. And Memento's not his best movie either. But again, like Reservoir Dogs, like El Mariachi, like Clerks, it was basically the huge calling card for a distinctive voice that would influence others and continue 20-odd years later. This is a film from a hungry young director. It shows it's a great film. And Christopher Nolan is a great director. And that's how we're going to end 2001. I hoped you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please, again, give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. And most importantly, leave those comments. I cannot wait to hear from you. I do have other DVDs, but when I started going through everything, I cannot find quite a few of them. So we're still missing some movies. But I will continue to hunt, and hopefully by the time that my next couple of installments are ready, I will find those. But until the next time, I hope everyone is doing well, and we'll see you then.